A government file has emerged containing further potential allegations of abuse.
Dealing with unnatural sexual behaviour at the top of government.
Any allegations in relation to that file will be passed to the police.
The demands for transparency have again reached the House of Commons. The file, found in the National Archives and highlighted by Sky News yesterday, is entitled Allegations Against Former Public, and then a word missing, of Unnatural Sexual Proclivities, Security Aspects. It's dated 1980 to 1981 and is still held by the Cabinet Office on grounds of national security. It went through Margaret Thatcher's office and was prepared for the then Prime Minister by the security services.
The revelations by Sky News yesterday about the document were significant and illuminating. And there's a clear public interest in knowing whether a former Prime Minister received a briefing on sexual crimes committed by a senior intelligence officer or officers. Regardless of whether the inquiry get to see the document, can the Home Secretary not commit to publish the document now in the public interest?
The file has been passed to the police so that they are able to look at any issues within that file which they should be properly investigating. And I can assure the House that the file will be made available.
None of it surprises Don Hale, a journalist who has spent 30 years trying to uncover the truth. He's adamant there are other secret files.
Well, I think there's a lot of files out there. I mean, I've been told quite clearly by, ex-coppers, ex-spooks or whatever, that there is a paper trail, there are files still available. And I did a piece in July saying where these files were, and some of these included the National Archives.
The Home Secretary has promised to announce the next head of the child abuse inquiry by the end of the month. Regaining the trust of survivors will take far longer. The file has finally been opened. Its focus, the diplomat, the late Sir Peter Hayman. He travelled the world representing Britain, but back in London, his sexual habits were discussed at the very highest levels. The file shows he was sending obscene material through the post. He kept detailed records of his sexual activities and fantasies. In the report it says the material in the record relating to children appeared all to be fantasy. But allegations of him being an abuser have been published in Private Eye magazine, accusing him of paedophilia. The file concludes the allegations were generally accurate. 2 significant incidents are highlighted but not detailed, one in Baghdad in 1959 to 60 and one while High Commissioner to Canada in Ottawa.
We're looking at Prem 19, but if we do an advanced search...
It was university lecturer Chris Murphy who stumbled across the file and alerted Sky News. It had been prepared for the then Prime Minister, Margaret Thatcher, and had been held secret for 35 years. Following an outcry, it was raised in the House of Commons, and it's now been released to the National Archives.
This document's being made public not because of the government's inquiry into child sex abuse, but it's being made public despite the government's inquiry into child sex abuse. We've had to rely on an academic from Salford University to discover this file, and we've had to rely on backbench MPs to press government to make it public.
Hayman also worked for the intelligence service MI6. The files confirm he was also a member of the Paedophile Information Exchange. He died in 1992. He did face allegations before he died. In 1981, the Maverick MP Geoffrey Dickens accused him in the House of Commons of being a child abuser. But as far as we know, Sir Peter Hayman was only ever charged with one offence, an act of gross indecency in a public toilet. The file also reveals the air of panic within Thatcher's government about how they should handle the Hayman matter, as she described it in this letter. A secret briefing note is also in the file. It explicitly says that the line to take is that there has been no cover-up. The documents show the British establishment hard at work, ensuring they protect themselves. It's telling that there is no consideration of any potential victims. But the Westminster of the 1980s was a place where secrets could be buried. Unravelling it all is a slow process, and the Hayman file is just one part of it.
I feel that this inquiry is so important, and at the forefront of it are so many victims. My message to the survivors is that I have committed to undertake this inquiry, that it will be robust, that it will be independent, and that I will work in a timely way.
As soon as she moves to London, she'll have to start delivering on the British government's promises on child abuse.
I am now more determined than ever to expose the people behind these despicable crimes and the people and institutions that knew about abuse but didn't act, that failed to help when it was their duty, sometimes their very purpose, to do so.
She knows the inquiry could unravel an alleged paedophile network operating in Westminster in the 1970s and 80s. That's why both Baroness Butler-Sloss and Fiona Woolf had to step aside. They were too close to the British establishment.